Planning and design of ports and harbors. Harbor can be defined as sheltered area of the sea in which vessels could be launched, built or taken for repair. Provide for loading and unloading of cargo and passenger. Ships, boats can seek shelter from stormy weather in navigable water well protected naturally or artificially. Situated along seashore or river, estuary or lake or canal connected to sea. Harbors are broadly classified as natural harbor, semi-natural harbor, and artificial harbor. Natural harbor. It is a natural formation affording safe discharge facilities for ships on sea coast in the form of creeks and basin. It is protected from storms waves by prominence of land. Semi-natural harbor. It is protected on sides by headlands protection and it requires man-made protection only at the entrance. Artificial harbor. It is a man-made harbor. Harbor having no natural protection but artificial arrangements are made to protect the harbor from storm and wind. Area protected from the effect of waves either by breakwaters or by dredging. Oh, features of a harbor. Entrance channel. Number 1. Entrance channel. Depth and width are kept more at entrance. Width depends upon density of traffic and number of entrances. Uh, Number 2. Berthing and turning basin. Berthing basin are used for the parking of ships, while turning basin for turning of ships. Number 3. Breakwater. The structure constructed to protect harbor from storm waves. They are generally stone masonry. Number 4. Pierhead. The structure provided at the tip of breakwater, such as lighthouse. 5. Quays and wharves. The structure constructed parallel to the shore or breakwater, having wide platform at the top. Function is to permit berthing of vessels alongside for cargo working. Number 6. Jetties and piers, same as wharves, used for loading and unloading of cargo. Made usually from shore towards sea water to prevent silting and dredging to allow free flow of tidal currents. 7. Docks is a dugout and usually has gates so that water level is kept up even though the tide has gone out. A dock is for mooring ships for cargo or passenger exchange or sometimes repair. Harbor planning. The planning of harbor should be carried out after collecting the necessary information of the existing features at the proposed site. The following important facts should be studied. It is necessary to carry out through survey of the neighborhood including the foreshore and depths of the water in the vicinity. To ascertain the character of the ground, boring and sounding should be taken. To know the probable surface conditions on land, borings on land should also be made. It will be helpful in locating the harbor works correctly. The nature of the harbor, whether sheltered or not, should be studied. The existence of sea insects which undermine the foundation should be noted. The problem of silting or erosion of coastline should be carefully studied. The natural meteorological phenomenon should be studied at site, especially with respect to frequency of storms, rainfall, range of tides, maximum and minimum temperature of winds, humidity, direction and velocity of currents, etc. Harbor design. Harbor area required depends upon the following factors: on the size and number of ships to be accommodated in the harbor at a time, on the length and width needed for movement of ships and to and from berths, type of type of cargo carried, requirements of a good harbor. The ship channels, whether natural or artificial, should have sufficient depth for the draft of the visiting vessels to the harbor. The bottom of the harbor should provide secured anchorage to hold the ships against the force of high winds. To protect against the destructive wave action, the land masses or breakwater must be provided. The entrance of the harbor should be wide enough to provide the ready passage for shipping and at the same time it should be narrow enough to restrict the transmission of excessive amounts of wave energy in time of storms. Due, due to the drastic changes in the size of ships, the emphasis has been laid on the deep, deeping of channels. It's the part of harbors. Port. A port is a location on a coast or shore containing one or more harbors where ships can dock and transfer people or cargo to or from land. Port locations are selected to optimize access to land and navigable water for commercial demand and for shelter from wind and waves. Ports with deeper water are rarer but can handle larger, more economical ships. List of major ports in the Philippines. Port of Manila, the larger, largest and the premier international shipping gateway to the country. Port of Batangas, the Philippines' largest oil port and major ro terminal. Port of Matnog, the busiest passenger ferry terminal on AH-26. Port of Cebu, the busiest seaport in the Philippines in terms of annual passenger. Port of Cagayan de Oro. Port of Davao, Mindanao's main gateway. Port of Subic, the former U.S. Navy base and now a major cruise and transshipment hub. Types of port: inland, fish port, dry port, warm water port, seaport, cruise home port, port of call, cargo port. No. Inland port is a port on inland water such as river, lake or canal which may or may not be connected to the sea. If fishing port is a port or harbor for loading and distributing fish. Dry port is an inland intermodal terminal direct connected by road or rail to a seaport. Warm water port. Warm water port is one where the Water does not freeze in wintertime. Seaport. A port or harbor on accessible to a sea coast and providing accommodation for seagoing vessels. Cargo port. No. Cruise home port, port of call, and cargo port. Cargo port is a port, a maritime facilities comprising one or more wharves or loading areas where ships load and discharge cargo and passengers. Now, difference between harbor and port. So, definition. Harbor is a place on the coast where ships, boats, and barges can seek shelter from a stormy weather. Port. It is a location on the coast that can be used to load and unloading. So, location. Harbor cannot be located inside port. And port naman, located inside of harbor. Purpose. To provide shelter from the weather condition. Port. To load and unload cargo. Creation. Harbor. Usually a natural structure, and port, generally artificial created. So, do not provide as many facilities as ports. Commercial entities and often have many facilities like warehouses to store cargo and well-built transportation system. And that's all. Thank you.